Okay, creative block. It's something we're going to talk about today. It's a very well-known topic between photographers, videographers, creatives, content creators, producers, whatever it may be, in my social circles, friend circles, my closest friends, whatever it is, it's very common to hit a rut at some point. I am one of those people as a photographer and videographer that every few months I want to redo everything that I've ever done. I'm a strong believer that the urge to destroy is also a creative urge, and I would say between 2 and 4 months, I could literally wipe out my entire portfolio and redo it. But to want to do that is really tough because it's just not really that feasible. But I'm always very much like that. Even when I was a kid and I would sit and draw or paint, I would look at it when it was done and I would love it. And literally 5 minutes later, I was like ready to just throw it up. Like I was always ready to move on to the next thing. And that's what I find with photo and video, is that I'm just ready to portray myself differently after I've looked at the finished product of something previous for too long. So you find yourself in these ruts or having a creative block on what to produce and what to show people and how to portray yourself. So today I'm just going to touch on a few topics that have helped me. And I will say at the beginning of this video, creativity is very individual and overcoming a creative block is just as individual. So what I'm about to talk about might not help you. Some might, all might, whatever it is, but chances are, even if you're looking into this video based on the title, you have nothing to lose and maybe you want to try some new stuff to feel inspired and motivated again. The way that I look at a block is that something has either become overcomplicated, overworked, or overexhausted, whether it be you or your work or whatever it is. And so you have to completely deconstruct that and start from the ground up. So I always look at it as go right back to basics and understand why you were doing this in the first place. I always find that that really helps. So let's say you're a photographer and you're having a tough time making your Instagram look as interesting as it did a few months ago or something like that, or you want to revamp your website, or you're doing client work and it's all kind of repetitive and you want to try to approach a different angle. The way that I would suggest that, and this only is going to work for a few of you based on equipment that you have, is if you're specifically a photographer, if you have multiple lenses, choose the one that you haven't used in the longest time. I've done this before. I had a 28, a 35, a 50, and an 85. And I would do this every once in a while where I was starting to feel a little stuck and starting to feel repetitive and that my stuff all looked the same. I'd pick the lens that I would never use and specifically shoot that only for a few weeks at a time. It makes you work a little harder. So it makes you appreciate the craft again, and it makes you realize like, oh, I can do portraits on a wider lens than I'm used to. Like if I was shooting portraits at 85, because you're just like, you think of it like hand in hand, like portrait 85. What I would do is I would just pick the 35 and it's like, okay, let's go shoot this and let's specifically do portraits with this. And like I said, it doesn't work for everybody, but you will start to find that you have to think a little bit more about your next shot when you limit yourself. And that's what I mean about breaking it all down, simplifying it from the ground up, is remove all your options and pick something and stick to it. Video is a little different because that's not usually the case. Like photos, you can tell somebody's style based on what lenses they use. With video, most people are shooting wide anyway. With video, I just think you should be filming more. That applies to photography. Like obviously go out and bring your camera and just make sure to use it. But with video, you should try to just go shoot and not think too far ahead. Just shoot. Simplify. Go all the way back to the beginning. Do it as easy and simple as you can, and it'll spark that initial, now I remember why I did this years ago or months ago or decades ago or however long you've been doing it, because I've been doing this for well over 10 years and I still hit those ruts every few months. You just have to put in that work of bringing the camera with you, make a conscious effort of shooting, just remembering why you're doing it in the first place. So that's always helped with me. Keep it simple, don't overcomplicate it, and you'll start to just feel that inspiration again just while you're shooting. With digital cameras, you can shoot as much as you want. Like that's the beauty of it is, you know, even if you're throwing away 80% of it, then who cares? You're still using your camera and you're still realizing that you can shoot, you know, your significant other drinking a coffee, and it can be interesting. It doesn't have to be thought out. It could just be a capture. It could just be a moment. So those are my things. It's just always simplify, lower your gear count with you. Take a body and a lens with you, and that's it. Don't overthink it. Just grab something that takes pictures and go. And then my next point is using film will really help you because you have to actually think about the shot. So it goes against what I just said about rapid firing with digital cameras, but if you go and take a roll of film, make a goal to finish that roll of film that day without any burner shots, you have to really think about those, 24, 36 photos. And that will spark that inspiration back into you because first of all, it costs you money to get those photos. Not only the cost of the camera and the film, but to go actually see them, you're going to have to either have your own developing kit at home or pay somebody to do it. So that's always been a good way, is take a little cheap point and shoot camera and go shoot a roll of film, and you will be surprised with how thought out those 24 or 36 photos are, just because you only have those. You don't get to play around with 1,000 of them in an hour and then delete what ones you don't like. You have to make sure that they all work. That's another trick that I will use every once in a while. We've gone on trips where I didn't even bring a digital camera. I just brought my phone and a film camera, and then you make sure that you get all the coverage you need that way, and it's great for me. Another thing that helps is to speak to people that are like-minded, other creative people. Only surround yourself with people like that. If anybody, talks poorly about your creative vision or the fact that you want to pursue something creative or the fact that you bring a camera everywhere, honestly, cut the ties now, because you're going to eventually. If they don't support it, then just ignore them. Just completely ignore them. Everybody I associate myself with knows what I do. I'm very proud of what I do. I'm very happy to talk about what I do. Associate yourself with other like-minded people and other creatives, and go and make time to go shoot with them. If your friend gets a new camera, let's go walk around and let's go shoot together and just help each other out, bounce off of each other. Surrounding yourself with creative people will always further you, especially if you think they're slightly better than you. Even if you just look up to them in general, then you will always perform a little bit better around those kind of people. So surround yourself with those people. And then finally, disconnect yourself from social media. This one is controversial. With something like Instagram, not only are you looking at nothing but content, your inspiration's going to get skewed by it, where you're going to look at so much stuff in such a short amount of time, whether it be your feed and then you flick through the explore feed while you're bored, or you're just looking at endless photos and little clips. And I'm all for inspiration and taking ideas from people, but I find if you completely do a social media cleanse, you'll start to want to produce what is natural to you and not to what you've been looking at for hours and hours and hours at a time. So just consider that. You don't have to delete your Instagram. Just delete the app off your phone. Just delete Facebook off your phone. Just do those kind of steps. You'll be pretty surprised. I've deleted Instagram again 2 months ago. And my page is still there. And I'm never tempted to download it again just to see what's going on. Because I just think, when I want to produce something, I just think of how I would do it and I just go do it. And I'm not skewed by social media. So I strongly recommend completely cleansing yourself from those things and just, again, simplifying, going back to your beginnings with creativity, and that will trick your brain into being like, how would I do this? Because now I don't have a visual representation of how it should be done. That's a personal tip that I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with, but it's worked for me forever. Because then at the end of the day, if you do something and they're like, oh, that looks like that other guy's photo, it's just like, I never saw it. So you know that you didn't copy something, you know that you came up with something. I hope that these have helped. I know it's kind of all over the place. I just sat down and hit record, and I just have been mumbling for the last 25 minutes. But I hope that they've helped. Just grab a camera, grab a video camera, grab a paintbrush, grab a pencil, whatever you're doing, and just start doing something. Find that natural rhythm that you would have had without any of this influence or without any of this inspiration, and your natural creativity will come out that way. And we'll see you in the next one. And if you could be so kind, hit that subscribe button. It'd be really helpful. I'm getting some positive feedback, which is awesome from you guys. I really appreciate some of the comments. Look forward to seeing you in the next one, and have a good one.